you did this whole thing. You're getting all your results. I'm like, oh gosh, I need to know my results. I need to be better than Tim at everything.
Coming up on the pod, Ty and I are talking about our experience using Function Health and if we need Function Health for agriculture.
The Modern Acre is presented by American Ag Credit. American Ag Credit is a proud member of the Farm Credit System, which was created more than 100 years ago with the sole purpose of serving the financial needs of farmers and ranchers. From small farms to the largest agribusiness enterprises, American Ag Credit understands agriculture and how to structure customized financial solutions. Just like many of the guests we have on the pod, American Ag Credit recognizes that the evolution of agriculture is inevitable and exciting. Their goal is to be at the forefront of this evolution, partnering with producers to grow their future in ways they haven't imagined yet. To learn more about American Ag Credit and to receive exclusive access to reports from Terrain, a research and insight service of American Ag Credit, visit agloan.com/terrain or hit the link in our show notes.
All right, Ty, something we both have been into is Function Health and kind of getting that up and running this year. So I think let's start there.
Let's start there, Tim. A few months ago, you blew my mind. You didn't tell me proactively. You just sprung it on me that you had joined Function Health. It's like $500. I was like, man, a $500 purchasing decision. You don't even run by me. Like, this is wild. And I had been like, seeing Function Health on my Instagram and getting like ads for it. And I was like totally a sucker, like wanted to do it, but I'm just like, I can't spend $500 on this right now. So just, I'll do that at some point. And then you sprung it on me that you had joined, which was awesome. So you got us started on this journey.
Kick things off. Yeah, I forgot that I'm supposed to run big medical and health decisions by you first. my bad. No, it's a really cool offering. So yeah, I learned about it the same way. I was like big on just like podcasts were talking about it and social media and just wanted to give it a shot. I just feel like the current medical system is just so reactive. Like when you meet with your doctor, I just feel like they didn't have a good pulse on like what my diet and lifestyle looked like. And you're kind of doing these bare bones tests to really get a good picture. So I was like, I just need to kind of level set and do kind of a more holistic view of my health. And looked like Function was a pretty good price point to do pretty comprehensive testing. So it's a really cool product and platform where you go through year one and basically set a baseline. You do just two separate blood tests where they're taking like 20 vials each. So it's a pretty intense blood panel looking at a bunch of different factors. And they kind of tie this in with a software piece where there's a web application, mobile app to kind of track the reports that you're getting back from your doctor. Like when I did the test at Quest Diagnostics, which is just kind of a third-party lab that they contract with, the healthcare tech was like, if you ran all these like through your insurance or like did these separately, it'd be like thousands and thousands of dollars to do this kind of work, and you're getting that value for $500. So it's really cool, like the value that they're being able to do by aggregating this demand together and going with this approach.
Yeah. So for those that don't know, Function Health kind of just came on the scene last year. They've been around for a little bit, but in June 2024, they raised a $53 million Series A, valued the company at $191 million. And then this year in February, Function closed a $200 million financing at a $2.5 billion post-money valuation, bringing total known funding to roughly $256 million. So they have hundreds of thousands of users that are signing up for this flagship $500 per year membership, which bundles 100 plus biomarker tests along with separate imaging offerings as well. So they basically have this flat $500 one, Tim, that does kind of the bulk of this blood testing and urine testing, but then they have all these add-on tests and scans as well. So me and you just did basically the base package. So why don't you walk us through your experience with it, what you learned, and your thoughts?
Yeah, overall, like super good experience. Like I think they've done a really good job of like gamifying the app of like once you kind of get set up with the app, it kind of gives you the different phases of like, your test is coming up next week, day before the test, here's what you need to do. And then waiting to get results. I felt like I was just like checking the app constantly after I did the work. I'm like, want to know my results, want to know how I did.
It's like a dopamine hit every new biomarker that comes through.
Exactly. Yeah. So I thought they did a really good job with that. And it's like really interesting how they kind of pull in these different insights and like recommendations on what to do. Like the goal here is like be proactive with your health and like what are kind of foods you should be eating or avoiding, what supplements can you be taking to not be on a lifelong drug. So I thought it was really cool. They kind of segment the different areas, whether it's heart health or kidney function, liver function, where you have a few different biomarkers for each. It gives you a biological age. I thought I was leader in the clubhouse. My biological age was 7 years younger, which I was excited about. And then you came in a little bit younger than me. So I was biologically younger than you for about a 1 month span in between your first test and mine.
Well, that's actually a good segue to me, because I think a big piece of this is like the competition social aspect of it, which is kind of, we're in murky waters here with, medical information, right? But you did this whole thing, you're getting all your results. I'm like, oh gosh, I need to know my results. I need to be better than Tim at everything. And then your biological age comes in. So what was what was the actual number?
My biological age was 31 and I just turned 38. So yeah, 7 years younger than my calendar age.
So you get that number and I'm like, okay, now I'm 33 is my actual age. And now your biological age is 31. So at that point, to me, you were younger than me. So I felt like compelled. I have to do this, and I have to beat Tim. So I think there's like something really interesting there, right? Of like sharing results, the social aspect, the competition of it. Like, speaking of competition, Tim, we've talked previously about Brian Johnson. His whole thing is to kind of live forever, longevity. He has something called Rejuvenation Olympics, which basically gamifies this idea of your biological age, right? So that's public information. It's fun, it's social, it's competitive. Like, you doing this kind of made me feel that, right? Of like, I have to beat Tim. And so I signed up for it. I had a similar experience, Tim. Went in, got the 2 blood tests. Don't love needles, but got through that. And yeah, saw the biomarkers come through. But can I zag on you, Tim?
Zag away.
Okay, so
contrarian takes here on the podcast.
I agree that it was, gamified. I think they have a good app. I don't think it's a great app. I think that there's a lot of improvements. And I think that the excitement upon initial taking the blood test and getting your initial markers in, it kind of like declines over time. And I think that that's a huge opportunity, because like you get this and you're just like desperate to see the results. And then once they kind of come in, they're like the last ones kind of come in slowly. And so you kind of lose that momentum a little bit. And then they have this like physician's note thing that basically, once all your biomarkers are in, a physician, which I don't know who this physician is, will look at your results and basically like interpret them. Okay. But I found that I just got my notes in like yesterday, and I looked at them and I felt them. And I think you mentioned this too, but like somewhat underwhelming. Like, it was pretty like basic. Like, you could almost interpret, because they give you for each biomarker the summary of what it is, causes, potential solutions, all that stuff. So I'd basically like, I think, internalized all that information already. And then the physician notes at the end, which is like supposed to be like holistic and taking your specific things into it, was like pretty generic. So I think there's room for improvement here, because they have this, I think, amazing solution, a good app, but I think you need a way to keep like users more engaged, I think, over time. That was my experience.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. I think there's a way that they can kind of keep users on the platform more consistently throughout the year versus when they're doing the testing. Like, I think integrating, like, they recommend supplements you should be taking. Like, if you were able to input, like, here's all the supplements I'm taking, and making it more like something that you would use on a daily basis, they could probably drive more traffic of people on the app to kind of make it something that is a daily part of your process and routine versus like something that happens a couple times a year.
So what I did is I actually kind of like, and I think you did something similar, but basically took the results. I was looking very, detailed, biomarker by biomarker, figuring out which ones I was out of range on, which ones I was like close to being out of range on, and then basically did an analysis of my supplements. And I like kind of went back and forth with ChatGPT on it. So I basically took Function Health data, that's my raw data. I put it into ChatGPT, and I kind of had this back and forth dialogue of like the best bang for my buck supplements, right? I don't want to take 50 supplements, but what are the best 5 that cover these different areas? And so I kind of had this back and forth, and then built a built essentially a supplement stack. I was doing this, on a Friday night, and my wife was like, "What are you doing? Like, please stop." And I was, figuring out essentially figuring out the right supplements, the right dosages for all of my data. But I did that myself. And I think there's an opportunity for like Function Health to work with AI to kind of come up with a better prescription versus just kind of more generic stuff.
Totally. Yeah, I did the same, like fed it all my data and gave it like more context to myself. Like here's my workout schedule, what I typically do for programming. Here's when I wake up. Here's what, like when I typically have my meals. Here's the supplements I was taking before the test. Like here's what it's recommending to add in. Like give me kind of like a plan for the day on like when I should be taking supplements for max benefit of like take this one on empty stomach before you work out, take this one post workout. Like pretty interesting to be able to like give it that context of like, yeah, you were taking the supplement before. That's why you're really good in these different areas. Keep taking that.
We both discovered that we have not great biomarkers for our heart health.
Yeah, that was quite alarming. Like, I guess like that's eye-opening. It's like we could have like not done this, and 4 or 5 years down the track had have a heart attack or something like that, or like some of these things that just pop up that aren't like not showing any symptoms, feel very healthy. So yeah, the heart health areas for improvement here on the podcast. We're a big heart health pod now.
Yeah, we should be sponsored by like American Heart Health Association.
I think they're already sponsored by Big Sugar.
Tim, are you taking berberine?
Oh, definitely on the berberine train.
I just got my sups, came in over the past 2 days, showing up at the doorstep, and my wife is like, "What is going on?" But I think I've come up with a pretty good stack. And Tim, I think I undercut your prices. I saw you were getting like some of these like fancy VC backed, supplements, and I went more, just getting the single ingredient supplement much cheaper. So I think we got to compare notes here.
Yeah, we'll see how this pans out in the retest. Yeah, I made a few changes, like added in some more supplements, and basically started doing jiu-jitsu. We talked about it a couple weeks ago about like doing that twice a week to kind of like ramp up the heart rate, do more like intense workouts versus the strength training. So we'll see like doing that consistently over the next 3 or 4 months, doing a retest, see how that impacts things.
I've been telling you this for years that you got to up the cardio. I've been telling you this for years. You didn't need to spend $500. You had Tyler. You had Tyler already telling you what you needed.
So hard to do without like having a place to go. Like I'm just not the guy that can go on a run. So like having a class to go to like knock it out, I think is going to be more my.
Okay, but Tim, you also need both, right? Because you need high intensity, but you also need long duration cardiovascular training, right? These are two separate things: high intensity and cardiovascular.
Dog walks, Ty. I walk the dog
with a weight vest.
With a vest.
Okay, all right. Maybe we need to up your weight though.
All right, Ty, like we've been super into this, and I think there's a lot of parallels with human health and soil health. We've talked about this on the pod before. Like I think Function Health is a really cool company, really cool platform, and I think there's a lot of applications here for agriculture. Like when we talk about soil testing on how that typically happens and ways to improve and iterate on that and give growers kind of more proactive recommendations on what they're looking to address. Like you could easily see a company here like Function Health for Ag that is working with local soil testing labs and giving growers profiles and kind of more comprehensive like screening and analysis for their soil and sap analysis on tissues, and then giving like personalized recommendations on kind of what they should be doing. I think, I've talked about it before that sometimes there's this kind of like push in the industry to kind of make it a one size fits all approach to building soil health and regenerative ag of just do these 5 things and you're regenerative. And that is really not the case. Like with humans, we're also different. Different diets, different workouts are going to have different results for individuals. And the same is true for farms and soils, where one farm that's quote unquote regenerative might be doing a different things than a farm in the next state over on different crops that's regenerative as well.
What did Function Health, like, how did they innovate? I think this is really informative, because independent blood sampling has been around, right? Like you could go to Quest and get your blood taken, but it was just hard. It was bureaucratic. If you would try to go through your doctor wouldn't let you, or you'd have to have some specific reason. And so it was just the bureaucracy of it all made it just hard for a normal average Joe to get this level of information in a way that was understandable. So what Function Health, they didn't create blood testing, right? Like they're taking actually like decades old technology, and they're just delivering it at scale at a reasonable price in a way that's accessible for an average consumer. That was the insight, right? Like that's why they're now valued at $1 billion valuation, which is just wild. Similarly, soil testing. It's been around for a long time. There's different mechanisms. There's the Haney test. There's all these different approaches to testing the soil, but it's been around for a while. It's in a similar way. It's kind of difficult, right? Like it's annoying to every farm kind of has their own operation. They test at varying times of the year and levels, and, have different levels of resourcing applied to soil testing. Someone making it much easier. We've seen folks like Biomakers and others that are innovating in this space and doing this, but I think there's just so much opportunity here for like making the information, the data more useful to a grower and actionable. I dare I say actionable insight, right? We can't use actionable insight, but that's the idea. I think that's the unlock. I think with soil health, soil testing, there is a lot of also technological advancement going on as well. So, bringing these things together, that's a huge, huge potential opportunity.
I agree. And I think the personalized recommendations is super interesting as well, where when you look at just kind of biologicals and just crop inputs in general, oftentimes just kind of this one size fits all approach when every farm, as we just talked about, doesn't necessarily need that. So you could have a tomato farm in Lodi and looking at a soil test and here's kind of a fertility plan that's unique to you based on your soil. Then that's going to look different than a grower 2 hours south of us in Los Banos that's growing the same crop, and kind of getting more micro recommendations at a farm level, which I think doesn't always happen because it's, just a commodity that's sold across the entire state blanket, and it's not unique to your farm.
And I don't think this is necessarily good for, the input providers, right? Because the input, whether it's a conventional input or a biological even, right? They just want to say, oh, this works, use it, right? But the reality is, to your point, every soil is different, and knowing your soil and what it actually needs is critical, right? We can talk about precision agriculture, right? And doing, more precise application, but it's even before that, right? It's knowing what actually the soil needs, and you can be precise upfront in just even the prescription of it. And I think this is a huge opportunity in the space. And Tim, we talk about on AgList, we're recommending products, biological products, right? And we've introduced this AI component as well to help solve a bit of this, right? From a biological product perspective. When I was looking at, my supplementation for my results, like what supplements I should use, not only was I trying to figure out, hey, what are the, top 5 supplements, but then I actually went back and forth on the brand, right? Of the actual product with ChatGPT of, hey, this is really expensive to use this one. I was looking at one supplement that was combined three ingredients, right? And I looked at buying them individually was much cheaper than buying this fancy, all in one supplement, right? So I actually used ChatGPT to hone the list and actually the specific products that I would purchase to go from, $200 a month in supplements to $70 a month in supplements. And so I think that's something that I could see happening in agriculture that we're actually trying to think about more with AgList from a biological product perspective.
Yeah, and I think why Function works is they're not tied to any one supplement company. They're agnostic, they're independent. They're making recommendations on you need more calcium or vitamin this, but they're not basically making product recommendations, and they can kind of maintain their unbiased approach. So might change if they do start making product recommendations, then they might be a little bit biased and they have high margin on those products that they're recommending. So I think it's probably a pretty interesting position they're in to kind of remain that kind of independent resource and not be shilling product.
There's 2, I think, expansion ideas that I'm sure Function has already thought about, but one is making their own products, right? Because there's clean ingredient, supplement brands like Thorne or Transparent Labs. There, what's another one? Momentous supplements, right? But often those are pretty marked up. They just have great branding and marketing, right? There's a world in which Function just says, hey, we're going to just have independent, just the supplement, no above and beyond, but just create like the basics supplements, and it's like the Amazon Basics playbook, right? So they could definitely just go in that direction.
Private label their own supplements, totally.
Own supplements, yeah, exactly. So that's a growth opportunity and option for them, because like if they had right now, they just recommend, here's your top 5 supplements. If they like had, in app, buy here at, a fraction of the, at a reasonable price, like Amazon Basics, I would for sure buy through them. It's like, keep it all consistent. Cause that's right now I'm buying from like 4 different sources for my supplements, right? If I could have it all in one and it's like what they're already recommending, that seems like a massive opportunity for them.
Totally.
The other growth opportunity that you had mentioned for them, Tim, was life insurance. Can you explain that one?
Yeah, I think it's like pretty interesting. Like life insurance, I think is a pretty good business to be in. Like insurance in general, life insurance is currently like a pretty fragmented market. It's like complex. The process is like kind of onerous. They send some like you do like a random, very basic blood test, like you get at your doctor, not super comprehensive. They don't have a whole lot of context on your life cycle. They're just doing like P sample, blood sample, and we make our decision based on like whatever your results are. I mean, I think Function is a double click and like much more comprehensive. So like if they were able to offer a life insurance policy of like, we have all your data, you have these different biomarkers, we have a certain level of confidence in offering a life insurance policy, like that seems like a really like easy plug and play with their model. It's recurring annual revenue. Like that's the other thing we didn't talk about is just like retention of customers. Like once you're on this, like I'm probably never going to churn. Of like every year I want to like improve my numbers and be there. So it's like you get a lifetime customer that's in their 20s and 30s that's paying into this, hundreds of dollars a year with the ability to add on all these different, if they sell products or life insurance on top of it, could be a really big business.
Totally. All right. So that's our deep dive on Function Health. I think, I love looking at some of these other businesses, Tim, and just thinking about what is the applicability and overlap with ag. And I think there's so much in the world of health and personal health with soil health, like you mentioned, that it just gets me super excited. So I know that we are thinking a lot about everything we discussed as it relates to AgList, because I think providing independent product recommendations to growers is really interesting. I think we're going to have some features that we're going to announce over the coming months that will maybe bring some of these things together. So we're definitely thinking about it a lot and following the space quite a bit. Shane Thomas, shout out, just in his latest edition, did a overview of soil health testing landscape, which is very fragmented, as you mentioned, Tim. So that's worth checking out as well. But appreciate you guys listening. Tell us what you think of this new format of Tim and I just kind of covering one big topic. This one was Function Health, but I appreciate you guys listening. We'll be back next week.